And welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of Talkin Schmoedown. I am your host, Josh the Merc Raynor, and I am here with a brand new episode. It is episode 50. That's right, a big milestone, 50 episodes. What a time to be on the 50th episode. I mean, two amazing matches and the announcement of the bracket for the Ultimate Schmoedown Singles Tournament. It's going to be a wild ride tonight, so I am really excited. So before I get into all the match stuff, I wanted to talk a little bit about the announcement that Christian made. So last week on the show, I talked about Ben Bateman, Andrew Guy, and their upcoming match. And during that announcement, Christian said that, this is a huge match, but this is the undercard, so that the main event has to be huge. And he finally revealed what that main event that he was able to book was. That's right, Chris Jericho versus Kevin Smith. The long-awaited duel between these two celebrities. El Champion versus Silent Bob. I am super pumped for this match. Christian wasn't kidding. This is a huge gap. I think this is probably the biggest match that they have booked. I'm super excited, and so we'll go real quick. Go back August 27th, 5 p.m. Be sure to check that out. Andrew Guy versus Ben Bateman, part 2 is going to be fantastic. But Jericho and Kevin Smith, man, I am real excited for that. All right, so like I said, 2 really important matches for this week. So this weekend was the Skybound Xpo. Skybound is the current sponsor for the Schmoedown, and they put one of the matches up during the Skybound Xpo, and that was the Robert Parker versus Chance Ellison match. This is a huge get for the Schmoedown to be able to be part of something like this as well. To be sponsored by a company like Skybound, they're fantastic. They do a lot of stuff, and having the Schmoedown be part of that, I think, is a huge get. And being part of the Expo is fantastic. And this was a hell of a match to have be part of the of this Expo, as I'm sure that you guys saw from watching it. I assume that you would watch it before coming here, but hey, if not, then I'm going to give you all the deets. So, this was a huge match for mainly Chance Ellison. He was the underdog here. Everyone was, calling for Robert Parker to win this match. Pretty much everybody. Saying that he's unbeatable. This is the guy. It was Kaiser's second pick in the draft. People were saying, this guy's going to be unstoppable. He's going to beat Kevin Smith. Now, I never really bought into that. I didn't watch his stuff in the fan league, so I really didn't have any basis for him. Just what people were talking about. And, he won his first match, but that didn't mean anything to me. A lot of people win their first matches and then tank out on their second, third, whatever. It happens all the time. And so when everybody starts kind of glomming on to Robert Parker, it just felt a little too premature. People, after him being 1-0, saying, "Oh, this kid's a shoo-in for Rookie of the Year," and I'm like, "Are you serious? He's 1-0. He's 1-0. He could literally lose every single match after this, and you're sitting here saying he's a shoo-in for Rookie of the Year." Now, I like Robert Parker as a person. I've had interactions with him. He's a great guy, but I'm not a fan of the Robert Parker of the Spider, of the persona that we get to see here in the Schmoedown. So much so that I have found myself rooting for Chance Ellison ever since this match was announced. And if you followed me for really any length of time, I wasn't the biggest fan of Chance either. But I've been rooting for Chance, and this match was definitely an interesting one to watch. It was also a huge match for both factions. They were both essentially tied, same amount of points before this match. So this This match would propel the winner 2 spots in the faction standings, putting them up to, I believe it was fourth after this. So that's big. That's big. So it was really important for both, but I think it was a bit more pressure, a bit more important for Korruption. You know, I understand the dungeon has not had a good run here. They've only won, I think, 3 matches out of, I think, 11. It's been a rough season for Kaiser in the dungeon, but I still believe that this was that Korruption was the underdog here. That they were the ones who were destined to lose, so to speak. But we'll get into all that. So when it comes to these factions, they each have a manager. You've got Shannon, you've got Kaiser. Now everybody knows Kaiser. He's fantastic. He's great on the mic. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to push his players vocally in a way that gets the fans rallied around them. And that's really important as a manager. Uh, Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like some of his managerial techniques have been working out in order to get wins, but that's a different story. But then we have Shannon. Shannon came in recently, and nobody really knew what she was gonna do. She kind of just hung around the faction there for a while, would pop in here and there, and then suddenly, at the end of last season, bam, Shannon is manager. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how she would do in this league. But I gotta say, she is becoming one of my favorite managers. She's amazing on the mic. She has a passion for this game that is just amazing to see. And I love just watching her just essentially bury Kaiser on the mic. It's not often that you get to see something like that, and so it's really I've really enjoyed watching her kind of blossom in this league as a manager. And so we got some funny stuff during the promos, specifically during one of Shannon's promos, and that was with Mike popping up from behind that refrigerator. It was fucking brilliant. Every single time that she's on the mic, whether it's here, like doing her managerial stuff here, or on backstage when she comes on, Mike is always somewhere in the background, and it's fantastic. I remember one. I think it was on backstage. He was in the back watching, I think, Batman Forever. Studying up for stuff, and he just walks. It's hilarious to see that, and this was just brilliant. Him popping up from behind the refrigerator door and just saying his stuff. It was great. I absolutely loved that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Parker. So I talked about, how I'm not the biggest fan of his character. Like I said, I've had some interactions with him. He's a nice guy. But over these last couple of matches that we've seen him in, he puts off the persona. I know, like I said, I have not watched his fan league stuff, so I don't know if his character is like this in the fan leagues. I have no idea. But he puts off the kind of persona that you get from like current Brandon Hanna, and we all see what happened to him, and 2019 Paul Oyama. So it's like they come into this league. Now, granted, Hanna had been in this league. He just decided to switch his game up. But still, it's like with Paul Oyama, he comes in this game. He's really impressive in the fan leagues. People are saying this is the next guy, man. He's going to be the champ. Now, granted, for Oyama, he did become the champ. But then as we saw at Spectacular, he crashed and burned. And I am really glad that he changed up his character, that he found a little humility, became a little more humble. I kind of want that for Robert Parker. Because I have no problem with heels. One of my absolute favorite competitors in this league is Mike Kalinowski. I liked him when he was a face, but as soon as he turned, dude, he opened up a part of himself that was just waiting to come out, man. And it's been fantastic to watch him grow. And so, like, I love seeing a good heel. But there are some times when you get a heel like a Robert Parker now, in my eyes, who's going to get what in the wrestling world is called X-Pac heat. And it's where you kind of you don't like them at all in real life. Like, you really, like, beyond the character. I don't want it to get to there because I like him as a person, and I don't want his character to affect how I feel about him as a person. But it's these types of characters, the Paul Yama, the Brandon Hanna, and now the Robert Parkers, who they think they're better than everybody else, and you know what? Everybody loses eventually. You know, you may rise to the top, but the fall is quite long when you're up there, and Parker had to deal with that today. So the one thing I do like about Parker's gimmick is that, like the Barbarian, he actually puts on a little bit of an entrance. With these digital matches, these virtual matches, we don't get a lot of that. You know, you don't get a lot of entrances, and that's something I really miss about the studio shows and live shows. Is I really miss the entrances. You know, I'm really hoping that with this upcoming singles tournament with William Bibiani, who is huge with all these types of things, with the entrances and everything. I'm really hoping that he puts on something, you know, for that. But so that's one thing I do like about this version of Parker is that he does give a little bit of something leading into his match. So just like I said, like the Barbarian does. All right, so we get into round number 1. Parker was brought down a bit here. Missed 2 questions. You know, this unbeatable messiah of the Schmoedown missed 2 questions in round 1, where Chance Ellison over here hitting a perfect round, getting his bonus. Now that, it's like, I know that during the post interview, Parker said it didn't really phase him at all, but I don't know. You know, it makes me wonder if it rattled him a little bit, because you could kind of see it bothered him. Now, yeah, it didn't affect his round 2 play, but I still think it affected him, even if it was a small amount. I still think it definitely affected him. The one thing that I noticed, Chance, you gotta work on your penmanship, man. Durmstrong, I couldn't even read that freaking thing. So I understand why Parker was like, what is that? What is yeah, dude, gotta work on it just a little bit. I understand somebody who does not have good handwriting. I get it, but you do gotta work on it. So round 1 ends 11-8. Chance is up by 3 points here because of getting that bonus, and with Parker losing those 2 questions, you know, that's big. 3 points, 3-point deficit coming out of round 1. That's not good, especially in this league or in this division. Sorry, I know Christian will have a fit when people calls them separately leagues. It's a division. So we get into round 2. Chance spins first, lands on the DCEU, thinks about it a little bit, and stays. And I think this was definitely a good choice. Got all of his questions right. Only had to go to multiple choice once. Great round for him. Not allowing Parker to get a chance to tie or take the lead here, you know, because with that 3-point deficit, at this point, even if Parker were to get all 10 points, he'd still have a 2-point lead. So no matter what, getting what he got here prevented Parker from even getting a tie going into round 3, and it clinched that lead for Chance, which is really important in matches like this. You want to be in the lead. Now, that doesn't always mean you're going to win, but you want to be in the lead. So when Parker goes up, he spins Wizarding World and stays on that, which, you know, again, a good choice, getting 9 out of 10, just like Chance did, missing or only having to go to multiple choice 1 time. That multiple choice question, though, I want to talk real quick about. It was the one where they're asking for the title of the book. The title of the book was Magical Water Plants of the Highland Lochs. And I gotta say, I think that would be I really think that could have been a 5-point question. I get why it would be in a round 2, because you have multiple choice. So it's like, I kind of know what it is, but I'm not sure if I know the exact title, because if there was no multiple choice, you would need the magical water plants of the Highland Locks. You would need that whole title. So having the option for multiple choice, it makes sense that it would be in a round two. But this is, I think, legitimately a 5-point question. And I kind of would have loved to have seen it asked in a round three as a 5-point question. I think that would have been pretty dope to see if someone could have pulled that out, because that's a pretty gnarly one right there. Uh, and it's a good thing that Parker did not get farther behind here. Um, he burying himself even deeper, it would just not have been good. Now, being 3 points behind going into round three, that's not where you want to be. But like I said, at least he didn't bury himself any further behind. Unfortunately, he was not able to get that. Like I said, definitely feels like a 5-point question, to make it only a 2-point deficit. But you know, it is what it is. Unfortunately for him. So we get into round three. Parker hits his 2, but stumbles on his 3. It was that Back to the Future question, the pie pan. I'm not a big Back to the Future fan. Like I don't even know when the last time was I watched one. And so I didn't know this either. But when they said the answer, I was like, oh, that really makes a lot of sense. Especially if you think about the tone of those movies and everything. But yeah, that right there is the thing that cooked him. Really. Not getting that 3-point question is what I think sank him. Because we don't know what would have happened after that. But he did get his 5, so he did prevent the TKO. Now, during this whole time, Chance is sitting there. He's completely zen, doing his thing, and I thought that was awesome. I really loved that. Just seeing him, just essentially like meditating, zen, real chill, focusing, so that he could go into his questions completely prepared. I really liked that. I hope that I don't know if I've never noticed whether or not he's done that before, but for some reason I happened to notice it here. I don't like again. I don't know if he's ever done it before. If you guys know, hop down right there to my Twitter at MovieBlogMerc. Feel free to let me know if you've ever noticed him doing that, and also let me know any thoughts on any of the stuff that I talk about here. So Chance was able to hit both his 2 and his 3, and because of that, he was able to pick up the win here, 25-24, giving Korruption 3 more points in the faction standings, propelling them up to 4th place. That's right, knocking the Rock Stars down a peg and leaving the dungeon in their trail. I like that Chance didn't milk that final answer for that 3-pointer, which I mean we've seen him do, we've seen Mike do. That's a thing that they do, where they use their JTEs just to milk it out. I get it. But I'm actually really glad that he didn't do that here. It to me it made it feel more satisfying, because I always get annoyed when they do that, and so him not doing that and seeing that win and seeing this huge upset was more satisfying that way. And then Shannon's enthusiasm and passion afterwards, just man, off the charts, fantastic stuff. It was a great match. Again, head on over to Movie Blog Merc on Twitter and let me know your thoughts. What did you think about this? Did you have Chance win, or were you rooting for Parker? And what were your thoughts on the match overall? All right. So now we're going to get into the second match. This match took place yesterday, so the day after the Expo, and that is Eric Z-Man Zipper versus Mike the Killer Kalinowski. Another Dungeon versus Korruption head-to-head match here. This whole weekend was the Dungeon versus Korruption, seeing who can be on top and make it into the Final Four. A lot of bad blood here between these two over the last couple of years. We saw Zipper lose. Him and Winston lose to Chance and Mike, and then Zipper left World's Finest. And then he was kind of courted by Korruption, told he was going to take over essentially, and that was all just a big ruse. Mike was effing with him, and that really kind of like ground Zipper's gears. You know, it really did. It kind of left him out in the cold, and that's when Kaiser found him. You know, and picked him up and started training him in the dungeon. And I think ever since he left World's Final, now I love Winston, but even he has said he's not that great of a player. He always brought a lot of great, enthusiasm and excitement and energy to it, but he wasn't the best player. And I feel like Zipper always had a lot of potential. I always saw a lot of potential in him, and so him kind of branching out onto his own and then getting picked up by the dungeon, I think probably was the best move for him. Now, he didn't get to progress here in this tournament after this, but he has definitely progressed as a player, and I think that we'll definitely see more from him in the future. Uh, Again, even in this match, Shannon once again rivaling Kaiser on the mic. Good stuff. I love it. And heel Kalinowski is the best Kalinowski. Heelanowski, as I like to call him. Love that guy. All right. Oops, sorry about that. We are going to get into round number 1. Now, I noticed that I've seen this happen with some other people throughout these virtual matches. We get players, a lot of times you see them use a whiteboard, writing their answers out like they do in studio. But then you get some of them who use like a pad of paper, a notebook, or flashcards in the case of Eric Zipper. And I don't understand it, personally. I think it's harder to see, one, because you're usually using a pen, which is a thinner line, and it's harder to see on the camera. You got to get it like right up there. Also, it's a waste. Like, you're writing one answer, tossing this paper. It's like, just get a whiteboard and just use that because it's reusable. I don't know why. It's always kind of bugged me when people use paper, that you're just wasting paper. One answer, like a whole notebook, one answer on each page of a notebook. Come on, guys, don't do it. Just get a cheap whiteboard. You can probably pick one up for like $6. Like, seriously. And they usually come with a marker. Just pick up one. There you go. You're off to the races. All right. So this first round was solid from both these guys. A couple of misses here and there, but Mike getting one miss, Zipper getting 2, 9-8 coming out of it. I gotta say, I was a little surprised that Mike missed that question. So it is what it is. I was expecting a perfect round from Mike, just like we got from Chance. Didn't happen, but he did retain the lead here. So we get into round number 2, and Mike spun first and landed on Star Wars and respun. And I gotta say, I like it when they respin on Star Wars, because Star Wars to me seems always like a too big of a risk. With there being a Star Wars division, those questions are so deep that we've seen people keep Star Wars and not do well. I think that's what Ben Goddard stuck with, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me in the comments if I'm mistaken. And he did not do well. And so I always say that if I were ever to be in the Schmoedown, which I guarantee I would never be in the Schmoedown, but if I were ever to be in the Schmoedown, I would spin away from Star Wars if given that opportunity. So I'm glad that he did, and good for him. He landed on DC. This is Mike's bread and butter. Host of DC Movie News. I've been watching him on DC Movie News since before I was doing watching the Schmoedown and stuff. DC Movie News is what prompted me to start DC Comics News's podcast network. I run DCComicsNews.com as well, and their DC Movie News is what prompted me to start doing podcasts over there on that other site. And so, like I said, I've always been a big fan of Mike, and the fact that he was able to get DC here That's a big get for him. And as we saw, 10 out of 10. Fucking yeah, man. That was a run right there. And hearing Shannon scream from the other room was hilarious. I loved that part. But yeah, 10 out of 10 here, man. Now, if he had missed any of these, I don't know, man. I think that would have kind of taken a little bit of his street cred away, right? So then we get Eric goes up, he spins Middle Earth, and he keeps it. Now, I don't know if this is something that he thinks that he is really, really good at. He didn't do terrible in this category at all. I mean, he got 7 out of 10. That's pretty decent actually. But when you're already behind and your opponent got 10 out of 10, that's not where you want to be. I don't know if he was just too worried about getting something that he didn't want. I know he's really good at Marvel, but I don't know. It seemed like Mike was also getting under his skin here, so I don't know if that kind of caused a little bit of stuff. You know, Mike's really good at that. He's good at kind of just talking and kind of getting under people, and he definitely did that here with Zipper. Again, he missed three. He missed 3 points total out of here. Had to go to multiple choice twice and missed one question, but Mike did not get the steal. So he didn't bury himself even further with that. But he is behind at this point by 4 points, 19-15. Mike goes into round 3 up by 4. So we get into round 3, and Eric gets his 2 and his 3, prevents that TKO. Now that's huge. We don't see a ton of TKOs in these tournaments, but being able to do that, at least, even though he loses, he prevented Korruption from getting that extra point and from being even closer to the top of the board. Mike gets his 2 and forces Eric to answer his 5, which unfortunately for him he misses, giving Mike the win 21-20. And Korruption gets another 3 points, pushing them into 3rd place. That's right. The Den is now knocked down. And Korruption going from, I think at one point they were like 7th or 8th place. And now they're 3rd. Like, that's huge. They talked a lot about how just because early on they weren't doing great didn't mean anything. They were able to pull themselves up and get higher up, and they may. There's a good chance that they get into 2nd place by the end of this tournament. There really is, and I'll go into that in a moment. So Mike talked a bit about going to Anchor Bay in Buffalo, which I thought was interesting. He said, he said, Kaiser, me and you should go out to the Anchor Bay in Buffalo, New York, get some wings. And that perked my ears because I am from that area. I grew up in a place called Dunkirk. It's about maybe 45 minutes or so, 45 minutes southwest of Buffalo. And I worked in Buffalo, worked in Orchard Park for a long time. And him talking about that, really, I was like, yeah, because I know that Kaiser is from Rochester, I believe. And so it was really cool just to hear that. I was like, oh shit, they're talking about something in my area. That's fucking cool. And dude, it made me really want a live show out there. Like, I know they do live shows in New York City, but getting a live show in the Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse kind of area would be fucking amazing, because I could way more easily make it to one of those. Obviously when that eventually happens again. But I think that'd be really cool. So Korruption is now half of the Final Four. Both of them are in the Final Four. And a Korruption versus Korruption match for the finals is definitely a possibility now. And I think would be awesome. And I think will be the thing to happen. Zipper is roaring and ready to go in a singles action. Yeah, I think he's still got some juice in him. We'll see what happens. So, like I said, Chance and Mike are now both in the Final Four, along with the Barbarian and Alex Damon. Mike Kalinowski will face off against Alex, and Chance Ellison will face off against the Barbarian. That both of those matches will happen next week, or I should say this week. So I will talk about them on the next episode. So as you can see here, Monday and Tuesday, the Patreon releases for the Barbarian versus Ellison match. Then on Thursday, we get the YouTube drop for Barbarian versus Ellison, and on Friday, the YouTube drop for Kalinowski versus Damon. So it's gonna be good. You gotta make sure you're watching stuff, man. You don't want to miss anything. Uh, I'm a little sad that we're back down to 2 matches, but I get it, and I'm kind of hoping that we go. I know that they talked about with the singles tournament doing 4. That's gonna be crazy, but I'll be watching them no matter what. So the next thing I want to bring up is the faction standings. Okay, so we talked a lot about this. Usual suspects, Quirky Mercs and the Burning Droogs haven't moved because they've been out for a bit. So that's 9. Those are the last 3 places: 9, 8, and 7. Dungeon staying where they were in 6th place with their 11 points. Unfortunately, like I said, 3 wins, 8 losses. That's not great. Hopefully they can do a bit better in the singles tournament for themselves, but we'll see. Rockstars got pushed down to number 5. The Den got pushed down to number 4, and that's all because of Korruption, who is now in number 3 with a total of 17 points. And if both if both Ellison and Kalinowski can win their matches, which I totally believe that they will, that will be an extra 6 points, which will put them at 23 points, putting them in 2nd place. And that doesn't include the finals, which, if it's the 2 of them, it doesn't matter who wins because they'll still get the 3 points. And that will push them up to 26, inching just so close to the Finstock Exchange, making it essentially 1 match away from the Finstock Exchange. However, there will be other matches coming up, so that may not stick around for much longer. All right, so that is the 2 matches for this week. Before I go, I wanted to dive into the singles bracket a little bit. So before I bring up the bracket, I'm going to bring up the tournament selections real quick. I talked a little bit about them last week. As we see, Finstock Exchange put in Mark Riley and the Barbarian, with Dan Merle, John Roca, and Sabrina Ramirez as all possibilities. 2 of the 3 of them will be in, all depending on who is the champion before this takes place. So then we have the Den with Paul Preston, James White, Rachel Silvastrini, and Tom. Swag with Lon Harris, Frank Moran, Paul Oyama, Liz Shannon Miller. Korruption with Chance Ellison, Marisol McKee, Adam Collins, and Mike Kalinowski. The Quirky Mercs with William Bibiani, Brendan Meyer, Perry Nemiroff, and Tim Franco. The Burning Droogs with Alonzo Duralde, Bonnie Somerville, Jader Paramo, and Whitney Seibold. I will say something here real quick. It makes me wonder whose choice it was to not put Brandon Hanna in. Did Brandon Hanna not want to be in the singles tournament? Did Ken just say nope? Because I'll be totally honest, putting I like Bonnie, but putting Bonnie in for a tournament, she had 1 match that she lost. I don't think I would have put her in a tournament, unless I just don't think I would have. Even if it was for cannon fodder, I don't think I would put her in this tournament. I think there are other people that could have gone in. Brandon Hanna is one of them, if there was something he had wanted to do. But I don't know. We don't see Brett Sheridan in the tournament, and he's the one who beat Bonnie. So I don't know. I think it was a misguided decision, personally. But we'll see how she fares. Maybe she'll surprise us. Who knows? All right. So then we got the dungeon with Vinny Mancuso, Video Drew, Eric Zipper, and Andres Gallegos. So Zipper does get his chance here. He'll be in the singles division here, and we'll see what he can do. Then we got the Rock Stars with Mark and Draco, Jeff Snyder, David Del Rio, and Jim Vavida, and the usual suspects with Sabrina Graves, Matt Atchity, Robert Montano, and then it'll either be Ethan Irwin or Jen Kemp, depending on whether or not Ethan is the champ. All right, so now we're going to get down to the bracket. And here it is. All right, so we're going to start over on the left-hand side. We've got two play-in matches on the left-hand side. We've got Andres Gallego versus Adam Collins, and Frank Moran versus James White. Now, I don't really know anything about Andres Gallego or Adam Collins, so at this point, it's just a crapshoot for me. I really don't know. I think when I did my pick, I picked Adam Collins just to pick somebody because I don't know anything about either of them. And also because who they would be facing will be either Merle or Roca, and no offense to them, they're not walking out of that round one match. Sorry, Andres and Adam. Sorry, but you're not walking away from Roca or Merle. Either one doesn't matter. To me, it didn't really matter. But then we got Frank Moran and James White, and I definitely went with James White here. I definitely think he's gonna do it. I know him a little bit, not like I've never met him, but like we talk on like Twitter and stuff like that. And I don't know. I think he's the guy who I'm rooting for. However, just like with the other one, I don't think either of these guys would be getting past William Bibbiani. You know, I think William Bibbiani is the one moving on to the round two. So then we also have Lon Harris and Sabina Graves. I see Lon Harris taking this one. Really, like I like Sabina, but I really see it being Lon. You know, I think he's hungry for it, to be honest with you. Then we got Brendan Meyer and Alonzo Duralde. Now these are two great players. All right, two very, very knowledgeable players. However, I do think the kid has a little bit of an edge. You know, I think he understands the game a little bit better, and I think that's what's going to win him the match here. Then we've got Mark and Draco versus Matt Atchity. Matt Atchity, I like him as a guy, and I think he has in general a little bit gotten better, but I don't think he has a full grasp of the game itself. But Mark and Draco does. You know, like he's a power player in my book. So I definitely think it's Mark and Draco moving on to round two. So then we got Chance Ellison and David Del Rio. I think it's Chance. Like I like David. Yeah, he seems like a cool dude. But Chance here, David's not been around much. And Chance, I mean, Chance just went through this Inner Geekdom tournament. He's got his reps in, I guess you could say. And I think that's who I definitely think it's gonna be is Chance Ellison taking this one. Then we got Liz Shannon Miller versus Rachel Silvastrini. My girl Rachel, the Switchblade, she's the one who I got going here for round two. She wants it. You know she does. I think either way, it's gonna be a good match. I like Liz, but I think Rachel's the one who's gonna take it. Then we've got the Barbarian versus Whitney Seibold. Now this one, they're both really knowledgeable, all right? However, I think that Whitney lacks some of the gameplay, like I've talked with other players. It seems that the Barbarian has gotten a real grasp for it, as we've seen in the Inner Geekdom matches that we've seen him play. So I have a feeling that I really think it's going to be the Barbarian walking away with this one. And then, like I said, I think it's going to be William Bibbiani moving on to round two there. So then so with that, that leaves us with either Roca or Merle versus Lon Harris. And honestly, I don't care if it's Roca. I don't care if it's Merle. I think it's gonna be. I think that's who's taking it. One of those two. Storyline, but that's who I got my money on. Then we've got Brendan Meyer and Mark and Draco. Now this one's tough because I like them both. They're both really good. They both can shoot themselves in the foot at times. I've seen that happen. And so I have a tough time with this one, but I think I am going to go with Mark and Draco. I don't know why. I think I really think he wants to prove that he is a top tier player here. So I have a feeling we're going to see Mark and Draco moving on to round 3. Then we've got Chance Ellison versus Rachel Silvastrini. This is tough. I want it to be Rachel. She's my fave. But I think that it's almost a toss up here. Now, yeah, Chance is definitely, Chance is a former tag team champion. You know? So he knows these types of questions, you know. He's not just in our geekdom. And Rachel can have a great match. So it's really a toss up here, but I think I'm going to go I'm going to go with Rachel. I know that Chance is doing exceptionally well here. But that doesn't mean that it's going to happen twice. Doesn't mean lightning's going to strike twice. So I think the Switchblade is going to make short work of Chance Ellison in this and move on to round 3. So then we are left with the Barbarian versus William Bibbiani. And I love you, Barbarian, but it's William Bibbiani. And I love this dude. Last year, I had him taking both brackets. Didn't happen, but I had him taking both brackets. So he is definitely moving into round 3 for me. So, okay, we're getting close. Now we've got either Dan Merle or John Roca versus Mark and Draco. Now, I love Draco, but I think it's going to be either Merle or Roca getting into the Final 4. And then when it comes to Rachel versus Bibbiani, no matter how much I love Rachel Silvastrini, I cannot deny William Bibbiani. That dude is literally a beast. I love it, and I got him going on. Now, between either Roca or Merle and William Bibbiani, I don't know, man. If it's Merle, I think Bibbiani's going to have a tough go. You know, if it's Merle, I think it's going to be Merle. If it's Roca, I don't know. You know, I think they're a bit more evenly matched. I think Bibbiani might be able to pull it out. So it all for that, I think for me it all depends on who winds up in that slot. Okay. So now we're gonna hop on over to the other side of the bracket. We've got Jen Kemp or Sabrina Ramirez. Now, if Ethan Irwin is the champion, then Jen Kemp will be in this match. If Ethan Irwin is not the champion, then then Sabrina will be in this match. Honestly, either way, I don't really know. Like they're both fresh. You know, they're both new. I've heard a lot of good things about Vinny Mancuso though. You know, so I think it could go either way. But just like on the left side, if it's Ethan or if it's Roca, I really have a hard time thinking that either any of the three of them are gonna, would be able to take out either, Irwin or Roca. So I think it's gonna be Irwin and or Roca moving on to the next round there. Then we got Paul Preston and Eric Zipper. Now, no matter how much I would want, maybe want to see Zipper have a little bit of redemption, Paul Preston is my guy, and it's totally Paul Preston moving on to round 2. Jader Paramo and Jim Vejvoda. Okay. Now, Jader's a rookie. Jim has been here for a bit. However, Jim, the problem here is that Jim, just like Alonzo, just like Matt Atchity, doesn't quite have the grasp of the actual game itself that I think is needed. But I don't know how Jader's going to play. So to me, it's a little bit of a toss up. I probably have to, honestly, I probably have to give it to Jim just out of experience, but who knows what'll happen. You know, we've seen a lot of great stuff from the rookies this season so far, so we may it may be a little bit of a surprise. Then we've got Tim Franco and Tom. Tom, from if I'm not mistaken, has not missed a round one question. I definitely think it's going to be Tom. Yes, I know Tim Franco is good. He's real good, but I think it's Tom's time. You know, he's been wanting to get in the singles really, and I think this is where he's gonna shine. Then we got Mike Kalinowski and Perry Nemiroff. Now, I love Perry. Her and Cody put on an amazing Iron Man Jurassic Park Iron Man match for an exhibition last year. It was fucking amazing. However, it's Mike Kalinowski, and I'm sorry, Perry, but I really don't see if Perry beats Mike, this will be the biggest upset. I don't care about fucking Parker and Ellison. I don't care about fucking any of the other big upsets. You know, the Andres one. No. If Perry beats Mike, I fully believe that will be the biggest upset of this entire season. Like I said, I love Perry, but I just don't think she's going to be able to pull it off against Mike. Then we got Mark Riley and Video Drew, both solid competitors, but I do think Mark has the edge. Former champion. I think he's got a bit of a fire lit under him, and so I have a feeling we're going to see Mark Riley move on to round two. Then we got Jeff Snyder and Robert Montano. Now, late to the party, I love them. However, they were never top tier, you know? They're fun. They're good players, but I don't think either of them were great players. Jeff Snyder, on the other hand, is a great player. Sometimes he gets in his own head, but I still think he's a great player, and I think he will be the one moving on to round two. Then we got I didn't talk about Bonnie Somerville and Marisol McKee. I don't know Marisol McKee, but I know Bonnie Somerville, and I just don't think Bonnie's going to win. It could happen. I just don't think it is. And again, I don't know Marisol, but I know Paul Oyama, and he knows his shit. And I think no matter which of the two of them wins that play-in match, I don't think they're beating Paul. So essentially, all of the play-in matches, I'm saying none of those people are making it into round two. It is what it is, you know, and that's how brackets work. You know, you get the low seed and the high seed, and that's just how it is. But yeah, I think it's gonna be Paul Oyama. So then for round two, we get into round two. It's either gonna be Ethan or Roca versus Paul Preston. If it's Ethan, I think that he'll probably take the match. If it's Roca, and this is nothing against Roca, and it's like it happened in the previous one where it's like if it's Merle's gonna win, but if it's Roca, I don't know. It's more that sometimes Roca gets in his own head, you know, a lot more than like Dan does, you know. So I think, and I love Paul. I think he's really really knowledgeable, and I think he could give John a run for his money. But I think if I have to pick, I think I'm even if it's Roca, I think I'm gonna have to go with it. So I think moving on to round three, I'm gonna have to put either Irwin or Roca for this one. I really do. Then we've got Jim Vejvoda and Tom. Sorry, Jim, your run here is over, and it is going to be Tom moving on to round three. I think he's got this going in. Then we've got Mike Kalinowski and Mark Riley. Now, yes, Mark Riley, former champion, two-time champion, if I'm not mistaken. But Mike is hungry. Mike, I don't know what type of studying Mark Riley does, but Mike hits the books hard, and I really think it's going to be Mike taking this into round 3. Then we got Jeff Snyder and Paul Oyama. Sorry, Jeff. I think this is where your time ends. I think Paul Oyama is going to move forward. I like I said, you get in your head a lot, and you stumble yourself, and you get upset, and you throw in the towel occasionally. It does happen. I think it's going to be Paul because of that. So then we have either Erwin or Roca versus Tom, and I think it's going to be honestly. I think this is where Tom's run will end. I think it will be either Erwin or Roca, whoever is in that match, moving on to the final 4. And then we have Mike Kalinowski versus Paul Oyama. And I like Paul, but I think it's going to be Mike. Mike is going to go on to face off against either Erwin or Roca. And this is a tough one. I'd like to say Mike, but I honestly think whether it's Erwin or Roca, I think that's who it's going to be. And so you're going to see either, in my opinion, it'll probably be either Merle or William Bibiani on one side, and either Erwin or Roca on the other. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Of those 4 players, so if it's Merle, or, I mean, just in general, of those 4 players, I think Erwin and Merle probably have the best shot of winning the tournament, personally. But we might get a crazy upset and see somebody like a Tom or an Eric Zipper or, a Chance or a Rachel freaking Silvastrini take the entire tournament. You never know. Anything could happen in these tournaments. It's insanity, and I freaking love it. And here's my beautiful face yet again. So, with all of that, I want to know, who do you think is going to take the tournament? The tournament starts August 10th, so it's only, 3 weeks away. So it's coming up. I don't know when the championship match is going to be, because it's got to be before this tournament starts so that the bracket is set. I mean, you'd think. Unless they're going to cut it real close. But yeah, hop on to... Oh, where'd it go? Right there. Movie Blog Merc on Twitter, and let me know, who do you think is going to be victorious at the end of the Ultimate Schmoedown Singles Tournament. All right, so, again, this coming week. So we've got today, for $10 patrons, the Barbarian versus Ellison dropped. And then tomorrow, it'll be available for all patrons. And on Thursday, it will drop on YouTube. And then on Friday, we'll get Kalinowski versus Damon. And that will wrap up round 3 of this tournament. And all that we will have left will be the finals. So, and then I wanted to put this, since we've got some other stuff coming. We've got Roca versus Erwin on July 31st for a Schmoedown Throwdown, with the undercard of Final Exam versus Deep 13. And then the following Friday, we will have Smets versus Chandru Dandapani, with the undercard of the Pride versus Final Exam or Deep 13. Now, that Smets Chandru match is for the championship. So, make sure you don't miss that Schmoedown Throwdown. So, like I said, we've got the finals coming up for the Inner Geekdom. So I'm assuming that the week of the Erwin Roca match, that the one that's probably going to drop on Patreon, will probably be the final. So on Monday, Tuesday, and then on Thursday will probably be what I'm predicting will be Mike Kalinowski versus Chance Ellison. We'll see what shakes out. Let me know what you guys think that's going to be. And then we have that one. So it makes me wonder, are we going to get the championship, dependent on who wins between Roca, and Irwin, are we going to get the championship match against Dan as the Patreon match the next week? Since it's going to be a throwdown on that Friday, and then the following Monday is when the tournament starts. So it's got to be close. So I don't know if that's been announced. Let me know again at Movieblog Merc on Twitter. Let me know if that's been announced at all. I have no idea. I haven't seen anything for that. Also, don't forget at the end of August, Chris Jericho versus Kevin Smith with the undercard of Guy versus Bateman 2. That is on August 27th. Another Schmoedown Throwdown. That is 3 Schmoedown Throwdowns. That's in the span of a month. That's going to be awesome stuff, man. So make sure, if you guys aren't patrons, dude, $10 a month. You're $10 if you sign up for the Roca Irwin match. That $10 will get you 3 Schmoedown Throwdowns, man. Plus early access to all the other matches that they put up on the Patreon account. And then also, if you're looking for a little something extra in your Schmoedown viewing, don't forget about the exhibition matches, the monthly exhibition matches. The Movie Trivia Schmoedown horror match dropped. I believe it's on. I'm not sure if it's open to all patrons yet. I think it's at least open to the $5 and up patrons. You'd have to double check that. But it has Mark and Draco, William Bibbiani, Mark Riley, and Dead Meat, Chelsea Rebecca, and James Janice. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Janice, I don't know. Yeah, check that out. Good stuff there. I always love the horror matches. Though I am shocked that they didn't save it for October. No, I mean, I feel like they could have put a different one in there, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Yeah, you're still getting it, and it's still going to be awesome. I love all those. But, so yeah, that about wraps everything up for me. You can catch me on Twitter at my personal page at JP Raynor. That's JPRAYNOR. And, of course, on Twitter at, where is it? Movieblog Merc. That's right. On Twitter and Instagram. I don't really do much on Instagram. But if you want to follow me, please feel free. But definitely on Twitter. I'm on there all the time, daily. I'm checking stuff out all the time. Also, I have a Facebook and YouTube if you're watching this live on either of those, because I'm streaming it to both, at Merc with a Movie Blog. And you can check out my website, mercwithmovieblog.com. I just recently put up a new review for a Netflix film called Only. It's a pandemic film with Leslie Odom Jr. and Frida Pinto. So go check out that review. And we also have a podcast network over on Anchor, anchor.fm/movie blog Merc. Have tons of shows there. Obviously, Talkin Schmoedown is there. We also have SEN Afterlive. We have one called Beyond the Screen. We have a video game one called Game Over Screen, which is really cool. We have a Harry Potter one, which is called Through the Port Key. We have Go Get That Rose, which is a Bachelor Nation podcast. So if you're into the Bachelor and Bachelorette and all that stuff, check that out. When it comes back, they'll be ramping back up for when that happens. I have all kinds of stuff. I know when the Mandalorian comes back, we'll be returning to we have a Mandalorian review show, and we'll be adding some new stuff here as well. We have a new one coming up called It Takes Two. If you're familiar with William Bibbiani and Whitney Seibold's Canceled Too Soon, this one is similar to that, but instead of shows that lasted 1 season or less, this is 2-season shows. So it's nothing that they talk about. It's all shows that are 2-season shows, and we tried to decide, was 2 seasons enough? Was it not? Was it too much? Was it not enough? Was it the perfect amount of seasons? So definitely keep an eye out for that. That one will be coming out soon. First episode will be the show Dead Like Me. If you've ever seen that one, it's a great show. All right, again, check me out on Twitter at Movieblog Merc right there. Thank you so much for joining me. I've seen a few people have been watching pretty much this whole time. It's been fantastic. Thank you guys so much. And as always, we have been talking Schmoedown. Catch you next time.